Dr. Live with New Insight, and thank you for joining me in another video. In today's video, I would like to talk to you about codependency and how this affects both partners in an intimate relationship. First, let's define codependency. Codependency is a dynamic where two people are excessively reliant on each other for their self-esteem, self-worth, emotional regulation, physical, mental, emotional, financial, and other needs. And the dynamic is typically characterized by and maintained through trauma bonding or soul ties. There may also be a level of toxicity in the relationship. Codependency used to apply mostly to relationships characterized by some form of addiction or mental or physical illness. However, this has changed over the years, and therefore, one or both individuals may or may not have an addiction or physical or mental illness. In intimate relationships, both partners should be able to rely on each other. Both should provide the other with mutual satisfaction and benefits. And of course, this will vary according to each person's needs, expectations, and the compromises made for that particular relationship to work. Therefore, yes, you should be able to rely on your partner. You should have expectations for how you want to be treated. And it's natural and normal to rely on external validation from your partner. With that being said, however, the issue of codependency comes in where one of both partners may have the following: anxious attachment, unreasonable expectations or expectations that are too high or demanding and impractical, difficulty calming and regulating their own emotions, difficulty problem solving or taking care of their affairs independently, and difficulty feeling safe, secure, and confident without validation from their partner. Therefore, basically, in a codependent relationship, there is no ability or very little ability for one or both partners to function as a whole, complete person separately and independently from their partner. So what this does is create a dynamic where one or both partners feels anxious, controlled, pressured, frustrated, even trapped. Codependency is not about purposely trying to control someone or be demanding or needy. The individual or individuals are oftentimes very unaware that they are even showing up in this manner. And if this is pointed out to the person, he or she may become angry, defensive, argumentative, or feel hurt, attacked, confused, or invalidated by such claims. However, it is worthy to note that just because you don't see it, or you may not agree with it, or you don't want to accept it, does not mean it is not worth seriously taking a look at. So it doesn't mean that there is or isn't codependency. However, if your partner verbalizes this concern, the person is speaking from his or her truth and experience, and this should be validated. So how do we address codependency in a relationship? First and foremost, both partners should self-reflect and know their own specific, clear and specific needs and expectations. Identify them for themselves and then verbalize this to their partner. And once the needs and expectations are communicated on both sides, both partners should then express any concerns or issues they have. For example, do you believe the needs and expectations are fair, reasonable, and mutually beneficial? And if you do not, you need to state your feelings so that a compromise can be made. And if a compromise cannot be made, you need to know this sooner rather than later. Be open and honest. Don't say things you don't mean just to keep someone from being angry or upset or to stay in the relationship. This will always cause problems later on. You will find yourself repeating the same cycle of arguments. You'll feel dissatisfied, invalidated, and unhappy. And it will all go back to this core issue that has not been addressed or resolved. So the longer you wait, the more the anxiety, stress, unmet needs, and unhappiness continues and worsens. Therefore, understand that codependency needs to be addressed, regardless if it involves one or both partners. Understand that even if you have been operating this way for a long time, or you have been involved in the relationship for X amount of months or years, this is not a healthy dynamic, not for an individual, and certainly not for a couple. And yes, a relationship involves two people, but those two people are still individuals, and each individual needs to be self-sufficient as much as possible and able to function as a healthy and whole individual, regardless of relationship status. Take steps to make sure you are taking accountability and showing up as your best self for you and for those you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.